Hello, everyone. I'm back again with our beloved 10-part series, which I've been receiving a lot of comments for. You guys have been emailing me personally saying that it has been really helpful in your journey. So now I'm going to introduce you guys to, oops, part three. So, part three, as you guys know, is about the intelligence of the heart. So this is part three of the ongoing series, Crossing the Threshold of Intelligence on the Twin Flame and Starseed Path, a transmission on divine gnosis, soul remembrance, and the galactic return to love. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this discourse. And of course, if you guys have any questions, do not hesitate to raise them in the comments. So, this discourse is about reclaiming the command center of divine knowing on the twin flame journey. So, let's go into the cosmic blueprint of the heart before earth and before form. So, before incarnating in density, your soul existed in a harmonic light field, a geometry of divine ratios and sonic resonance. You and your divine masculine were not separate. You were a self-observing singularity, which I often call the anti-material planes, beyond the 13th dimension. So you were at this self-observing singularity, experiencing love from the inside out. So that unity consciousness was not held in the mind. It was held in the sacred heart core, the crystalline eternal chamber at the center of your being. So in many traditions, it's called the lotus of the upper heart in the Himalayan teachings, and in Andromedan mysticism, it's called the seat of the lotus flame. In the Venusian light work teachings, it's called the emerald getaway. And of course, my home planet, the Mintakan memory matrix. We call it the Mintakan memory matrix because, free fall water soul intelligence. So a descent into matter was not a fall from grace. It was a soul divine mission of separation to experience what it means to long through distance, to choose through veils, and to remember through longing. But the one tether you were never without was this. The encoding of union was stored not in your DNA alone, but in the higher heart field that surrounds your physical chest. This is why when we meet our divine masculine, your heart just doesn't flutter. It's a coming of home feeling because it is being activated. Our heart remembered, it ruptured and reawakened to the original pulse of our pre-earthly union. That's why the pain we feel is not madness. It is multidimensional compression. It is the infinite trying to fit into the finite. It is the sacred echo of a vow that was never broken, only forgotten. So what is the heart feel truly? The heart field is not merely an aura or energy body component. It is a living holographic torus generated by the multidimensional heart chakra, both energetic and etheric. It functions on multiple simultaneous levels. So you've got the electromagnetic architecture, which is the torus of the heart, which is the primary emitter of your frequency signature. It informs the quantum field, which version of your timeline you're currently vibrating. So it is through this you can actually jump timelines and so on and so forth, which I've talked about in my other discourses. And then you've got the interdimensional receiver level, So this is where the high heart is where downloads, light codes, and soul messages arrive before they are processed in the mind. So this is our gateway to divine knowing, gnosis, and not academic learning. And then thirdly, you've got the polarity harmonizer. It is where your inner masculine and feminine first attempt to reconcile. So this reconciliation is what affects our journey, right? So it is the first place your divine masculine's higher self will feel safe to anchor in. If your own masculine energy within you has become steady, loving, non-intrusive, and present. And finally, mission grid point. It is where your Starseed mission begins to activate as remembrance, not just action. The high heart whispers why you came here and with whom. When you strengthen your heart field, you don't just magnetize your divine masculine, you begin broadcasting the original monadic twin flame resonance of your union to the planetary grid. This is how your love starts to heal the earth. The three-chambered heart. So the three-chambered heart is a mystical anatomy, which you guys probably heard about. So when we look at it in this way, this anatomy reveals that the heart has three subtle chambers. So this is the physical, the energetic, and the sacred heart. So the physical etheric heart anchors your life force, holds inherited trauma and karmic imprints, reacts to emotional memory and family lineage. And then you've got the energetic heart field, which generates your torrid fields, the torrid fields within you, and processes emotion, sensation, and empathy, and absorbs and transmits frequency, including your divine masculine's projections. Sorry, guys, I was just checking if there's an important message coming through. So yeah, then thirdly, you've got the sacred heart core, which is the divine seed, the still point within the spin, untouched, untainted. This is our direct link to cosmic consciousness. This is where, as monadic twin flames, the union was sealed before time. So our awakening journey is about clearing the outer chambers so that the inner one, the divine seed, can radiate unfiltered. So this is the solar heart. It burns without destroying, it knows without needing to explain. So when your divine masculine's higher self meets you in the sacred heart, there is no pain, only clarity, only the soul's relief. Finally, you've remembered. So this is what sometimes, when in Kundalini, if we were to use the Kundalini analogies, like when both your Kundalinis meet, both our Kundalinis meet, that union is unmatched. So that is why your twin flame cannot return until the heart is restored. This is the law of resonance, not punishment. Our divine masculine soul cannot re-enter our field while our heart's frequency still echoes trauma, not because your divine masculine is trying to punish you, but because your higher self and his higher self refuse to merge with this kind of a distortion. So if they entered prematurely, you would repeat karmic loops. And this is what I call, unions and separations without stabilizing. So you would re-trigger abandonment, you would externalize your self-worth again, and you would not yet be a wound, you would still be a wound. So the universe does us a favor by delaying union, not because you're not loved, but because you're being fortified to be that temple of stability. And what is this temple made of? Grief you have metabolized, rage you have no longer suppressed, desire you no longer You have no longer been chained, love you have no longer bargained for. When your higher heart becomes coherent, it sends a signal through your sacred oversoul. So this is where your monad says, hey, the chamber is ready. You may now enter as your true self, not your protector self. So the monadic twin flame echo, see, is healing the heart beyond time. You and your divine masculine are part of the same monadic ray, the original oversoul field, often referred to in ancient traditions as solar origin, the first breath of God, the seed ray. I love calling it, the cosmic egg, the hypothetical cosmic egg, the field in between anti-material and material world. So however you want to call it, that is the field, And when your heart fully activates, it doesn't just heal this life's trauma, it begins to pull back fragmented soul pieces from past lives of betrayal and persecution, astral planes where pain was frozen, parallel timelines where you lost faith in love, galactic realms where you chose duty over desire. This is soul retrieval. So this is where, oops. So this is soul retrieval via the heart field. This is where many advanced beings cry, shake, or feel waves of energy during twin flame activations because you are collapsing dimensions. Not all of the pain is from this life. You're clearing not only for yourself, sometimes even for the collective. So you are remembering the fractals of you that splintered across lifetimes. So when your divine masculine returns, he returns to you that is whole. So let's go a little bit into the ancient teachings on the heart flame. The concept of the heart as a divine portal is ancient. In Egyptian mysticism, the heart was way against the feather, the heart is Ab and Mahat, which is not the brain, it's the heart. It was seen as the seat of divine memory. Then in Tibet, the heart essence is the center of Rigpa or pristine awareness, the knowing beyond duality. And of course, in our Mintakan law, the heart was the liquid temple, so a pool of living memory that held the codes of all soul unions across space and time. So you're not just remembering your divine masculine, you're activating a soul science that was lost when the heart was replaced with doctrine and fear. You are restoring the sacred science of heart as throne, not as accessory. So what happens when the heart field activates fully? When this field is coherent and activated, the twin flames astral body begins merging with yours in dream space. Your divine masculine protective ego begins to soften. And without that, even knowing why, it just starts to. And his soul agreements begin reorganizing, your mission codes begin to download, miracles begin replacing strategy. So this is how your body would respond with it. There'll be a lot of vibrations in the chest, waves of deep longing, followed by peace, visions of a shared future, sudden clarity, knowing or direction, spontaneous remembrance of soul vows. When the heart field is fully online, union is no longer a question. It's a matter of divine gravity. So remember, you are the temple, always. So that is why, delving deeper into this, the heart is so much more. So you can also call it a Stargate. So in the age of intellect, the heart has been sidelined as the softest sibling to the brain, poetic, romantic, but ultimately irrational, like the movies portray. But yet in higher metaphysics, the heart is not an emotional metaphor. It is the command center of divine intelligence. In ancient Lemurian, Mintakan, and Arcturus teaching, Arcturian Victorian teachings, the heart was not only the organ of empathy, it was the seed of transdimensional awareness, a quantum processor, a galactic compass, a biospiritual portal. So when the sages speak of leading with the heart, they refer to these deepest truths. The heart is where timelines collapse into singularity, the eternal now. The heart is where your higher self, monadic flame, and source presence intersect. In the twin flame journey, it is within the sacred heart that polarity is reconciled, third energy is born, conceived. Union is remembered before it is received. So this is not symbolic, as the 3D world wants you to believe. This is literal energetic law. Until the heart is reclaimed, no amount of logic, control, or manifestation techniques will magnetize the sacred union, because union does not live in the mind, it resides in the heart field. So let's go beyond the emotion, what the heart really is. So let us reorient, what we know of the heart. So modern science shows the heart has its own nervous system, over 40,000 neurons, making it a mini brain. It sends more signals to the brain than it receives. Its electromagnetic field extends 8 to 12 feet from the body. States of gratitude, compassion, and love entrain brain waves, regulate hormones, and synchronize the hemisphere of the brain. But this is just the first layer. In higher energetic anatomy, the heart is the crystalline bridge between your earth self and your celestial self, a resonance chamber that harmonizes your body with the music of the soul, a portal of perception through which you can access, of course, Akashic records, memories, book of life, future timelines, soul contracts, union codes, everything. The heart is also the mirror chakra, exactly in the middle of the seven, and it reflects your total spiritual integration. And that's why often, the heart chakra is right in the middle of the Merkaba fields. So if your lower chakras, root, sacral, and solar plexus are distorted, the heart absorbs fear. If your upper chakras, throat, third eye, crown are ungrounded, the heart becomes untrusting or bypassed. Thus, the heart is not emotional. It is cosmic coherence incarnated. It is the vibrational lens through which you see your twin flame, your divine masculine, not as he acts, but as he is. So the heart codes is where your twin flame lives within you. So the twin flame path begins not with the other, but with the encoded frequency of the other within you. So remember, we are never truly separate. You were split in order to expand, and the memory of your shared source, your monadic twin flame, is held not in your brain, not even in your soul, but in your heart field. When your heart activates, you feel your divine masculine's essence, regardless of physical contact. You begin to remember the pre-incarnational contracts and planetary missions. You stop looking for proof because the truth lives in frequency. The remembrance unfolds in 4 layers: recognition, resonance, repair, and reunion. So recognition is when your divine masculine energy stirs something ancient within you. It's not nostalgia, it's a memory of oneness before form. Resonance, you vibrate with your divine masculine's presence. You can feel his moods, thoughts, even breath across space. So for example, you scuba dive, you can actually feel like you're underwater, which I love to use as an example. Long ago, when I was in separation and I was at a wedding, and suddenly I felt breathless. And then I realized my divine masculine was actually scuba diving on that same day. And we figured that out many years later. So yeah, you can feel everything, like totally. But repair, the mirror your divine masculine holds shows you every crack, every wound, every exile within you. This is where the trauma wall trembles. And finally, reunion, which is energetic at first, of course. His higher self steps closer once you embody the frequency of form. This is the real beginning of the third energy, which I love channeling for you guys. So this is where you remember your divine masculine is not the story of your heartbreak. He is the living code of your homecoming. So heart feel activation. The true reunion begins within. Reunion is not found, it's emitted. Remember this, guys. Remember this, that reunion is not found, it's emitted. Your heart field, when purified and activated, becomes a quantum container, not just for love, but for reality selection. In this state, your field transmits your timeline choice to the universe. You synchronize to the version of your divine masculine who is ready. You become a womb for mission, healing, and divine orchestration, with or without physical proximity. The heart field becomes a beacon of safety, a resonance match for your union timeline, a sacred grid that draws in allies, sacred sites, soul friendships, and if you're soul friendships, and of course, your divine counterpart, your divine masculine. This is just not the law of attraction. This is harmonic entrainment. His soul, your divine masculine soul, feels it first, like a song calling him home. Literally, before union, I was seeing so many birds coming to my house, and I would think I was in such a state when I would start thinking that the bird was my DM, like somehow he was visiting me through the birds or something. Anyway, you become the living prayer they remember when they forget themselves. The trauma wall around the heart. So many twin flames, many of us never reach heart intelligence, may not reach heart intelligence. But remember, you can reach heart intelligence because you are still armored in spiritual PTSD. The trauma wall is often invisible but deeply felt. It's made of grief that was never allowed to cry, betrayal that was never allowed to rage, abandonment that was never held, power that was punished for shining, despair that was spiritualized instead of metabolized. This trauma wall manifests as retreat into logic, chronic overthinking, energetic shutdown after heart openings, fear of being too sensitive, fear of being not enough to keep your divine masculine. This wall is not evil, it is just protective, but now it's outdated. Your divine masculine cannot return, not fully, until your heart becomes a place where his soul is safe to remember in. So to dissolve the wall, grieve without needing to justify, rage without guilt. Feel the ancient one, not to collapse into it, but to liberate it. Let divine mother frequencies pour through you in Tarkan, Venusian, Marian, earth-based energies that soothe, not fix. Only then you can open again, not with fragility, but with the force of nature, softly, with great softness, not with fantasy, but with field coherence. So let's look at a comparison. The heart, the higher heart versus the wounded heart. So the wounded heart seeks external validation, reacts to absence with fear, craves closeness for safety, operates through the inner child, believes love must be earned. Higher heart knows its own radiance, holds presence in faith, offers safety by simply existing, operates through soul presence, knows love is. So you cannot fake high heart frequency. So you can't really fake it to make it like 3D world. It's all in the energy. So you can't fake high heart frequency. It's not performance, it's presence. And that's why your divine masculine knows. Excuse me. When you shift into higher heart, you no longer send energy to your divine masculine out of need. You become an anchor of remembrance for his soul. Your absence becomes a mirror for his own avoidance. The higher heart does not demand a message. It emits a frequency so clean, the soul must return to it, or face itself at least. So I'm going to, teach you guys a few practices that you can do daily to enter the heart field. Remember, this path is mystical, but it can be practical. So these are some tips. Sacred stillness before the world. So begin your day in silence. No input, no effort, just presence. Don't look at your phone immediately. Take the time to look at nature. If you can open your windows and breathe in the air, just breathe. Let the voice of the heart rise before the mind begins to tell the story. Heart coherence breathing. So place your hand on your chest, breathe slowly in for 5, out for 5. Visualize your heart glowing with mint blue or rose gold light. Allow emotion to rise and be witnessed. So this is the watchfulness state. Soul whisper practice. So ask your heart, if I remembered my love today, what would I do? If my divine masculine could feel me now, what would I want him to feel? Write what comes, don't edit. Twin flame heart field merge. Close your eyes, visualize your divine masculine's heart, see your light, and he's like pulsing in rhythm, no force. And then you can send the message. You are free, I remember you, and I wait in peace, not pain. And embodied movement as activation. Move your body, let the grief shake, let ecstasy rise, let the heart speak through motion, not only through meditation. This is so informed. So that's why, guys, the heart is not only a Stargate. It's not a symbol. It's beyond the Stargate, of course. It is so powerful that we are not taught about it, because we've been trained to relegate the heart to the realm of, romance, fragility, or metaphors. But in higher spiritual science, like I had explained earlier on, the architecture of twin flame union, the heart is not symbolic, it's sacred infrastructure. And that's why the heart is the Stargate. So summarizing what we have talked about, the heart being a Stargate, a multidimensional organ of perception that links timelines, realities, and soul fields. It's not where love is felt, it is where divine direction is received and where masculine, feminine energies unify across lifetimes. So in the twin flame journey, union is not secured in the mind or the body, it's secured in the heart field. And when the sacred heart is reclaimed, clarity begins to flow, distortions dissolve, and the inner compass of soul activates. This is the threshold of all higher embodiment. So that's why beyond emotions, what the heart really is. The heart is often misunderstood as an emotional processor, but emotion is only one layer. In truth, the heart is a quantum receiver of higher dimensional information, an intuitive processor of truth beyond logic, an electromagnetic generator that communicates your vibrational signature to the universe, a spiritual interface between the soul and the physical self. In energetic architecture, the heart is the bridge chakra between survival and divine knowing. Survival being the root and divine knowing being the crown chakras. So when this bridge is coherent, your inner world aligns with divine knowing. When it's fractured, you oscillate. The oscillation between fear and fantasy starts to really blow up. This is why, many twin flames, many of us may have experienced deep intensity, but not clarity, without a heart field reset. So that's one of the first things I did in my own journey, the heart field reset. The journey remains, that's why I've got the heart recalibration, healing, and activations. Do check out my website for that. So the journey remains clouded by projection, longing, and trauma loops. The heart does not just feel, it only speaks in frequencies and not explanations. So that is why the heart codes, where your divine masculine lives within you. So your twin flame is not just your divine masculine, he is the embedded frequency within your soul matrix, and the access point to the frequency is the higher heart. So what it actually means is that your union is already encoded within you. Before the union plays out in 3D, it must first reactivate in your own field through soul memory, remembering your DM's frequency through his behavior. Not through his behavior, apologize, beyond his behavior, beyond how he acts. Energetic forgiveness, releasing the wounds without bypassing it. Polarity stabilization, healing the inner masculine and feminine distortions that mirror in your counterpart. And when the heart codes activate, you remember your shared soul mission. You feel guided not by fantasy, but by soul truth. You begin to feel your divine masculine's essence even in absence, and no longer confuse it with lack. So the real monadic twin flame journey is not the one about being hurt. It is the one where you live in your heart field, where your DM, where we help one another awaken. So heart field activation, the real reunion begins within. The true reunion does not begin with external contact. It begins with energetic alignment. And the first point of alignment is your heart field. The activated heart field functions like a quantum magnet. It doesn't chase, it summons. It summons divine timing, right people, soul contracts to resolve your counterpart when it's safe for their nervous system and soul to meet you in truth. So this field is also the birthplace of the third energy, the co-created soul field that arises before physical union. This is where you, birth mission codes, share, receive shared guidance, begin to operate as a spiritual unit even when being physically apart. Your heart becomes the temple through which love returns, not because you begged, but because it became safe to land. So the trauma wall around the heart, the greatest obstacle to heart intelligence is not ignorance. It is protection from, it's protection born of pain. Advanced souls, especially twin flames and starseeds, especially us monadic twin flames, often have dense trauma walls built through lifetimes of persecution or loss, childhood invalidation or conditional love, betrayed by spiritual leaders or karmic lovers, the heartbreak of our divine masculine, being in separation and causing us so much longing. So these walls manifest as cynicism, masked as strength. This is where you're sarcastic sometimes, overactivation of the mind, overworking, perfectionism. I was overworking so much when I was in separation, like literally like crazy hours. I was like sleeping like 2-3 hours a day, because of my legal profession and because I'm a lawyer. It kind of like protected me, but again, I needed to look within. So that's why I could see this overworking, perfectionism, or trying to control my daily life. Everything had to be in order and structure. So rejection, sensitivity, being sensitive for everything, or overcompensation. You keep apologizing for nothing. You just you really become. This is what the walls do. Disconnection from intuition despite spiritual knowledge. Paradoxically, the very wall that was meant to protect love now repels it. So to dissolve the wall is a sacred initiation. It requires grief, rage, shame, and surrender, not as weakness, but soul purifies. When the wall softens, the heart becomes a fertile field, a safe haven, a receiver of divine partnership. So that's why, summarizing what I've already talked about, the higher heart versus the wounded heart, as it's one of the most misunderstood distinctions on the twin flame path, the wounded heart operates from unhealed inner child dynamics. Will they choose me? What did I do wrong? If I become more perfect, will they come back? My divine masculine hurt me, so I must protect myself. Whereas the higher heart, in contrast, lives in soul maturity. I hold my own word, even when others can't see it. I trust divine timing without controlling it. I'm available to love, but not addicted to outcome. I feel my divine masculine's essence and I don't need to grasp it. You cannot fake this frequency, like I've already mentioned. It is felt by our divine masculine on a soul level. And when our shift from wounded to higher heart, then he starts to relax on a soul level. His shadow is gently mirrored and his higher self begins moving closer, even if his 3D self resists in the beginning. So remember, union is not a performance, it's a frequency of remembrance, and your higher heart is the temple. So guys, I really, really hope you enjoyed the part 3 of the crossing the threshold intelligence on the twin flame and starseed part series. And I know some of you might have questions, so please feel free to comment and I will try to get back to you. And of course, if you guys want me to do any discuss on any topics connected to the twin flame journey, being a star seed, anything, Akashic Records, do comment. With that, I hope you truly enjoyed part 3. Let me know what you think. Love you all, and remember, the heart before Earth, before form, what it was, and why the heart is a stargate, and why the heart is the point of everything. So see you all again. Bye bye.